Hello, Oracle fans. This is Mr. Trevino again. Hey, we are into Chapter 15, Module 12, Chapter 15, and Lab number 9, Discussion number 9, and Quiz number 10. How's that for throwing a whole bunch of different numbers at you? We'll see if we can get that corrected for the next session, but not for yours. So anyway, this module, this chapter is about how to code stored procedures and functions. So far, your Oracle scripts have been straight up and down, creating, inserting, assigning passwords, a lot of good stuff. But now we get to go and use procedures, create and use procedures and functions. And if you've watched this video that I put on there, you're going to see the differences between what they do and how they work and all of that. Also, as you go through the material and through the textbook, you'll see some examples of how these procedures work, how these functions work. It is important that you know this. You will be working with this a lot if you go into a business environment where you use Oracle. So today I am going to show you again how to go through the lab exercise and get some of those assignments done, get some of those questions and answers done. I believe that in doing so, even when you're in the business world, in the professional world, a lot of times you use other people's queries, other people's programs, and modify them to your need. Why reinvent program when something already exists out there? So for that reason, I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk through the actual lab so you can key it in and run it and learn from it as you key it in, instead of you struggling trying to figure out what to do. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go over this a few slides of this presentation of again, this is Chapter 15, how to create create stored procedures and functions. The main objectives are to create and stop procedures, stored procedures, and user-defined functions using any of the features presented in this chapter. Of course, you're going to go through the call statements. You're going to go through coding SQL statements for user-defined functions. You're going to learn what a package is and how to create a package and use them. Of course, we're going to go through the Oracle SQL developer to work with procedures and functions, and we're going to use the SQL developer debugger to debug a procedure or function. So again, the main knowledge is stored procedures, how they execute faster than an equivalent SQL script. And what that means is you use this whole method of writing SQLs and using databases are to make them more efficient, to make things faster, to be able to get information quick. So again, this is using procedures helps execute the scripts a lot faster and get your information a lot faster. We're going to describe the difference between passing parameters by position and passing them by name. Also describe the basic process for validating data and storing stored procedures or functions, and the benefits of using the packages. You'll go through all this as you go through your material, through your quizzes, through your reading material. Okay. This is what a procedure basically looks like. It has a create statement, create procedure. You always want to include or replace, because if you're changing a procedure, the actual replace statement will actually override whatever was there before. So you have a create procedure, and then you give it the procedure name, And then within the parameters, you have a parameter name and a data type. You know what the data types are. You've used them before. And you can have multiple parameter names within this inside loop. Then you use the is or as statement, and you've given all this information a variable name of whatever you place down at the bottom. So again, this is the format, this is the syntax for a procedure statement. We're going to go into it here a little more. For the function, it's a little bit different. The function has, again, the same thing, create or replace function with the function name. And that's how you're going to call it, by whatever you call this function name. Back in your scripts, you're going to actually invoke this particular name that you place right here. Then it works very much like a script where you create, you use a parameter name here and what type of parameter it is, and you can list several. Excuse me. Then the difference is that the function has a return with the data type. Okay, whatever you're going to bring back as you call the function, it's going to bring it back as a variable down here. So you can say is or you can say as. So again, I'm going to page up. You can see the difference between a procedure and a function is basically the return statement where a function is going to return some information. Okay. So then that's the PowerPoint. Now get into the lab. If you'll pull, I believe it's lab 9, the Chapter 15 lab exercises. There's 5 of them, and I'm going to go through each one of them real quick. So use your pause button if you need to. So anyway, this first one says write a script that creates and calls a stored procedure named insert category. So you got to first code the statement creates the procedure that adds a new row to the category tables. Okay, again, we're working with quit it. I don't know what's going on here. Quit it. We're playing with, excuse me, I have no idea what all this stuff is. This was not supposed to happen. We are playing with my guitar shop. It's up at the top, I promise you. But anyway, so we go back to question number 1. Question number 1 is asking that you write a procedure and bump it against the categories table. To do that, the procedure should have one parameter for the category name. Then it's asking you to write a SQL statement to code at least 2 statements of this procedure. Okay, so for number 1, when you open your SQL developer, again, we're going to connect to the My Guitar Shop databases. I've got the tables open. We're going to play with categories. When you look at the categories, you're going to see that there's, for category names, there's four records in there: guitars, basses, drums, and keyboards. Okay, so I have gone in ahead of time and put the query in that's actually going to do what that question number 1 was asking us to do. So we're going to create a procedure, and we're going to call it insert category. Okay, and that we're going to call that attribute category name with a description, with a data type of character. Okay, so, and the begin and the end between this statement here is the actual routine that actually will get this accomplished. All right, so again, there's the as statement, and this little routine begins to insert into categories. There's your table name, the values that we're going to bring in under category name, and we're going to commit them. If there's an exception, it's going to roll back and do nothing actually. So that's what this exception is. You dealt with exceptions in the previous chapters, and I'm sure you remember what they were. So anyway, here's where you actually run your script. We're going to call this procedure up here and execute all of this, and we're going to make it insert into categories brass horns. Okay, so again, this is what your script will look like for number one. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this right here. Before I do that, I want to show you. I've got categories open. Again, only four records. So when I execute this particular script or procedure, it runs, and it called the procedure twice and inserted those two records into the categories table. And to prove it, you go to the categories table. It's not there, but guess what? You got to refresh. When you refresh the table, you're going to see that it numbered by itself. As you know, I've done a bunch of other stuff, so it sequenced the numbers pretty high. But it inserted brass horns and inserted whistles. So again, this particular call statement called all the procedure that's up here, written up here, and inserted, because the procedure asks for you to insert these values into the categories table. Got it? Got it. I'm going to move on to number two. I'm going to erase here, close here. I'm going to move on to number two. Number two is asking us to write a script that calls a function, and we're going to name that function discount price. And basically what this is going to do, it's going to take the discount amount and subtract the item price. Okay. So to do that, this function should accept one parameter for the item ID, and it should return the value of the discount price for that item. So, and then we're going to code a select statement that tests this function. Okay, so keep with that in mind. Here is the actual script that I have put together for number two. Again, create, replace, function this time, not procedure, and it's called discount price. And this is the parameter within it, and it's going to be a number data type. Okay, so here's the actual return. This is what returns back when the function is finished. Returns this particular value right here. Now, this is the variable that we're going to assign to that value. Okay, so these are the executable statements. So you begin and selects the price and discount amount. As you can see, here's where the calculation happens. It selects the price and minuses the discount amount. So when we go look at the from orders, it's going from the orders table, so it's using order items table. That is, it's using this particular table. When you look at the data in the data for order items, these are the two calculated fields that it's going to use: the item price and the item discount. So I'm going to go back to the script, and it's going to subtract the item price. It's got to subtract the discount amount from the item price, and it's going to put it into discount price variable. Got it? So then when it returns, it's going to return this variable based on this result. Okay, so all of this is a function that's out there, that just exists out there for you to use anytime. This is the actual output when you select the item price, discount, and your new variable. Okay, your new variable with the item ID, where the item ID equals the item ID parameter. from orders item. This is what it's going to do. It's going to do the subtraction. It's going to do all of that. So again, I'm going to execute this and run. And as you can see, here we go. Here are the results. It used 14. It did 14 calculations. Okay, so again, it took the item price and the discount and subtracted it and came up with the variable that you named out there, and that is the result. So again, it did 14 items. The reason it throws a header in there again is because after a certain amount of rows, it actually thinks you've done a new page, so it's actually trying to organize it for you. So again, that worked. So there's number 2. We're going to number 3. I'm going to erase the output, close that window. I'm going to go to number 3. Number 3, it's almost the same thing. Number 3 says, write a script that creates and stores another function. This function is called item total. So this item total calculates the total amount of an item, okay, and multiplies the price by the quantity. So it's going to multiply the actual price by the quantity of items that exist, okay. And you should use discount price function to create this that you created in exercise 2, and this should return the value for each of these. Then you write a select statement to show the results of that function. So again, here we go. This is number 3. Again, a function, item total, with your assignments, the return, where it's going to actually return a value. This is the variable, you've named it. Here's the actual calculation where you actually do the actual execution. You select from orders item the price and the item ID for the item ID, the price for the item ID, okay, and multiply it times the quantity. So again, we're going to look at orders. We're going to look at this price and multiply it times the quantity to get the results that we're looking for, okay. And notice there is no it's actually going to create another calculated field. You won't see it in a table, but it'll be on your report. So again, select the price item that we want to display, the discount amount, and then here is the function, this particular function that's up here, okay, and from ordered items, again, this particular table. So I'm going to execute that right quick. I'm going to run it, boom, and here we go. Here are the results. You see the again, you see the discount price, the item price and the item amount and the results, okay. So again, you did not ask for the quantity. You asked for, look up here, you asked for the price, you asked for the discount, but in the actual calculation you were actually multiplying it times the quantity. So it was, if we had placed the quantity in the select statement, we would have had another column in here with a quantity. Got it? Got it. Erase, output. Okay, this next one. This next one is a little bit longer, I believe, and it has, again, this time it's a procedure. Let's go to see how it reads. It's asking you to write a script that creates a stored procedure named insert products, okay, and basically what this is doing, this procedure should accept 5 parameters, 1 for each of these columns. So it's only going to take these columns and use them in the procedure. Okay. This stored procedure should set the description column to a string that contains a single space and should be set, and it should set the date added column to the current date. So we're going to be using the system date in this particular procedure. If the value for the list price column is a negative, then the stored procedure should raise an error that indicates that this column does not accept negative numbers. So there you go. We're gonna have some errors showing up here. So again, code at least 2 calls for this statement to test this procedure. Got it? Number 4. Again, the descriptions. There's the five parameters that I've set. Here's the actual routine where it actually, if the parameter is less than 0, then it's going to raise an error value. If the discount percent is less than 0, then same statement. This is the price. This is the percent. Okay. So then insert into products. Okay, if these values don't exist, insert into products the categories that we've named up there. Okay, and the date added. The values are whatever you bring from your table. Here's the new parameters that are going to replace these up here, and it's going to add the system date. So here's the system date. Okay, so we're going to end up with an error here where there's negative if there's a negative here. Got it? So again, I'm going to highlight it, execute it. This is a little bit longer procedure, so I'm going to highlight this puppy. Come on. And there, and we're going to execute it. And boom. You see the error. You see that it did complete. It completed one call, and it did not complete the other one. So again, because if it was negative, it wouldn't complete. We had an error. Okay, let's go to number 5. Number 5, right quick. I know the video is getting too long, and I don't like long videos. Write a script that creates and calls a stored procedure named update product discount that updates the discount percent column in the products table. We're going to go back to the products table now, and this procedure should have one parameter for the product ID and another for the discount percent. If the value of this discount percent is negative, the stored procedure should raise an error that the value for this column must be a positive number. So, and then again, it's asking you to do a statement to call that particular procedure that you've just written. So this is what number 5 would look like. Let's erase that puppy. Close that. And let's go to number 5. Number 5. It's a long one also. We're going to connect. We're going to turn the server output on to give us some results. Again, here's your procedure. Create or replace, and here's the name. Here are the internal variables to that procedure. Here's the actual routine, the actual execution as. Then begin. If the discount percent parameter is less than 0, then this discount must be a positive number. It should write that little routine. It's like a routine error, an error routine rather. So then we're going to update products, and we're going to set the discount to equal the discount percent parameter. Okay, where the product ID equals a product ID parameter. So again, if they're the same. So we're going to have two call statements. We're going to bring in these numbers into that procedure. Okay, so we're going to call the procedure, and we're going to carry these values into that procedure. And they're going to come into these parameters right here, and then these, whatever value comes into these parameters, it's going to get executed in the actual routine, the execution down here. Okay, so here's the actual select so that we can see what changes it made. If we didn't have this select button, we wouldn't even know that what the changes were. So here we go. We're going to execute number 5. Highlight number 5 and run the puppy. Okay, here we go. Let me make this a little larger. This is what came out when it ran the products, and this was the data. So again, it took, well, it took the values that we gave and and made the discount percent equal the new values that are coming in from the call statement, okay, from these particular numbers right here. And you can see you can actually go in and see the results. I'll let you play with that so you can see where the results are, okay? All right, so hopefully this helps you understand a little better about functions and a little better about procedures. Go in and practice with these. I know I pretty much gave you the answers, but you still have to execute them. You still have to watch them run. So as you build them, you will see how things work. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you're having issues, if you're having concerns. I'd like to hear from each and every one of you this particular week via email just to let me know that you're moving along okay. I do have a couple of them, a few of you in my face-to-face classes, and we'll talk when we meet for that class, okay? But otherwise, if you're not in one of my other classes, please send me an email letting me know where you stand on all of this as far as understanding, and that way I know that I'm reaching you through these videos. Okay, so for now, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again.